Every year, 40 to 50 billion babies are aborted around the world for various reasons. If society does not take a stand to end this epidemic and point out what is morally wrong with it, society will continue to snowball until there is no ethical code left. Our world needs to alter its view on abortion by illegalizing it and making it punishable as murder. Abortion should be illegalized because, to start with, life begins at conception. Secondly, abortion not only ends the life of a helpless child, but it also causes trauma to women. Moreover, abortion affects everyone in society in countless ways. Lastly, and most importantly, abortion is not aligned with what God says in His Word. Science confirms that human life begins at fertilization. Scientific literature states that the life cycle of mammals begins when the sperm enters the egg. Why would it be any different for humans since we are also mammals? If a fetus is not a human life, why is there such stress behind unwanted pregnancies? If a human life does not begin at conception, which is where science proves it to begin by definition, then where does it start? Where do we draw the line? If a human is not a human at conception, when does human life begin? At birth, at puberty, at adulthood? Where in science proves where life begins better? Dr. Landrum Shuttles, an obstetrician gynecologist attending at Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in New York, who discovered male and female producing sperm, states, "I oppose abortion. I do so first because I accept what is biologically manifest, that human life commences at the time of conception. And second, because I believe it is wrong to take innocent human life under any circumstances. My position is scientific, pragmatic, and humanitarian. Fetuses are human beings and capable of feeling pain." Dr. Nathanson, an early pro-choice supporter, quickly changed sides to pro-life when he saw a 12-week-old fetus shrink away from instruments and open their mouths in a screaming gesture during an abortion. In his film, The Silent Scream, Nathanson stated his findings are not remotely religious. They are based on biological and observational facts. Many of the babies that are aborted by partial birth are fully capable of viable birth, but are killed instead in a horrendous manner that can be felt by the fetus. Abortions make human life disposable. Abortion supports the ideology that our culture has these days of throwing away anything, or in this case anyone, that is an inconvenience. Abortion puts man in a godlike state by deciding how and when to end life. Abortion not only ends the life of a helpless child, it also causes trauma to women. There are two types of trauma that are caused. First, physical trauma, where women who have had one or more abortion faced 4.92 times higher risk of cervical cancer. Elevated risks of ovarian and liver cancer have also been linked to women who have had abortions. These risks are due to untreated cervical damage and unnatural disruption of hormonal changes and increased stress levels. Abortions can also cause uterine perforation, which commonly goes untreated. This can cause complications in later pregnancies. Cervical lacerations are one of the most common injuries from abortions. Significant lacerations affect only 1% of abortions. The more common form of lacerations, microfractures, go untreated and can cause long-term fertility damage. The immediate complications of abortions include, but are not limited to, infections, excessive bleeding, embolism, perforation of the uterus, hemorrhage, endotoxic shock, burns, chronic abdominal pain, gastrointestinal disturbances, and lower general health. The second type of trauma is psychological trauma. According to the Elliott Institute, women who had abortions also had a 59% higher risk for suicidal thoughts, 61% increased risk for mood and social anxiety disorders, 261% risk for alcohol abuse, 280% risk for substance abuse disorder. 19% of women who have had abortions are diagnosed with PTSD. Post-abortion women are also at higher risk for divorce and chronic relationship problems due to lower self-esteem, depression, anxiety, and volatile anger. Rachel, a 20-something woman with a well-rounded life, found out that she and her boyfriend were pregnant. Rachel felt termination was her only option due to the lack of support from her family and boyfriend. Rachel kept her abortion quiet for 20 years due to the same shame that she felt. When Rachel found out about PATHS, a post-abortion trauma healing service, she came forward with this statement. I saw that one of the effects of the termination is that you can be numb emotionally. And I thought, that's me, that's how I feel. That's what I've been feeling like for years. And as the years went by, I would remember what age my child would be. I suppressed so much from the termination that I can't remember the time of day, the date, even the month. I remember how old I was, so I would meet people who had children that age, and the loss and the grief was there, but I couldn't speak of it. Abortion's effects on society are truly tragic. Abortion affects everyone, not just women. Abortion creates victims. Abortion affects more than just the mother and the death of the child. It affects grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, and most importantly, abortion workers. Abortion makes those executing children monsters. Everyone carries the pain of abortion in one way or another, not to mention the fact that it haunts its victims for a lifetime. Abortion goes against pre-existing laws. First off, murder is illegal. The 14th Amendment was designed to protect all classes of people, including the unborn. By 1900, abortion was considered a felony in every state. This amendment was supposed to be universal, protecting all people, especially those who can't speak for themselves. Federal laws are already in place to protect the unborn. Abortion makes our laws inconsistent. If people are getting around the law of abortion, what's next? The law on the death penalty says, federal law prohibits the death penalty for pregnant women until they give birth. This law is declaring that the unborn child of a criminal is viable and should not be put to death for a crime they did not commit. The Unborn Victims of Violence Act follows the same example. Lastly, and most importantly, abortion is never what God had in mind for us. God created us before we ever even entered the womb, and we are created uniquely in His image to be valued. Psalm 139:16 states, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Psalm 127:3 states, "Children are a gift from God. They are a reward from Him." Psalm 139:13-14 states, "For you were created in my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." In conclusion, abortion is a serious misuse of the dominion that God gave man over the earth. We are supposed to be fruitful and multiply, not casting out God's creation that may be an inconvenience to us. We need to be aware of the effects that abortion has on us. We also need to study what God's Word says about this issue so we can fight what Satan is trying to turn our society into. Holly Shear of the Federalist Web magazine states, "As full humans, babies do not deserve to have their brains removed while their hearts still beat. This is monstrous. This is murder. If there were an individual on a serial basis cutting through the faces of adults, harvesting their brains, we would have law enforcement hunt them down to stop them. We wouldn't fund and protect them. Therefore, our world needs to alter its view on abortion by illegalizing it and making it punishable by murder."